Hello everybody, here we are today and we're going to be doing a Week 8 recap of CFL action. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or the channel. That being said, let's get on into it. So the first game of the week was the Hamilton Tiger Cats and they were playing the Ottawa Redblacks at Ottawa. This one kicks off with an interception, something we would be talking about by the end of this game as well as some other things. Bo Levi Mitchell does throw an interception here and Ottawa gets on the board thanks to that, a field goal. The Tiger Cats do respond. Duke Williams, a guy that's been pretty good for Hamilton this season, ends up actually scoring the touchdown here. They missed the PAT, so it's 6-3. And then there's not a lot to say about this in the remainder of the half. Hamilton does have a drive that could turn into points. Ends up being an interception. I think it was to James Butler. It was like quadruple coverage. It wasn't a terrible throw, just kind of a aggressive throw, ends up getting picked off. And then we get to see Lewis Ward get 3 as it is 9-6 at the half. Hamilton does have the lead. So then in the second half, we see Lewis Ward in the third quarter get a field goal as it is now 9-all. And then we get to see kind of a weird swing here of momentum, and it happened in a very short time span, and I think this is where the game partially gets decided. This is where you see Brandon Dandridge pick off a ball from Bo Levi Mitchell. Problem is when he picks the ball off just a few yards away, as he's returning it, it gets punched out. Hamilton recovers it, and then on the, I want to say ensuing play, if not the ensuing drive, Kyle Loxley gets a screen pass for like 70 yards, ends up taking it to the house, and Hamilton scores off of that after both teams have been able to really limit each other in terms of offensive production. That was a big play right there that really, I think, helped Hamilton's defense as well as made it feel like Hamilton had some momentum here. Ottawa gets a field goal later as it is now 16-12. We would see Dustin Crum have a chance to try to rally the troops and get a win. On 3rd and 2 though, with 13 seconds left, it's an incomplete pass deep in Hamilton's territory. It's within their 10, and again, you're kind of hoping maybe in that situation Crum uses his legs yet again, but obviously he doesn't, and then Hamilton gets a ball. 13 seconds left, you're thinking QB kneel here, nothing really to talk about. Well, there is Bo Levi Mitchell, attempts to take the knee and ends up fracturing his leg. He's going to be out a significant time. Has been put on the 6-game injured list, so that is terrible. And at the end of the day, yes, Bo did throw 5 interceptions, and that was kind of the talking point before all this. Then he hurts his leg. That's unfortunate. Hamilton, I guess the good news here out of all this is they did get a win. You lose your quarterback, so that's it. And Ottawa was not able to capitalize on those turnovers, the 5 interceptions Bo had. And that is a problem, but it makes the East more interesting. Again, though, I feel terrible for Bo and just hope that he is able to come back from this. Then we have the touchdown Atlantic game, as Toronto is the home team here. This one kicks off with a Boris Beatty field goal, and Toronto looks to keep this undefeated streak alive, looking to start the season off 6-0. Things look pretty good as Javon Leake had a special teams punt return touchdown to make it 10-0, 10 minutes into this game. Obviously, the Riders facing a little bit of an uphill battle here as Mason Fine is their quarterback in this one. And then we see Boris boot another one as it is 13-0 after the first quarter. Obviously, the momentum is in Toronto's favor. And it kind of continues that way a bit here as we see Deshaun Amos pick off Mason Fine and ends up allowing Toronto to score a touchdown with this turnover, and they get a 2-point conversion. So it is 21-0. Things are not great. They do get a good drive going, Saskatchewan does, to close out the half, only to fumble the ball away at the 1. Very disheartening if you are a Rough Riders fan, knowing that that was really a good chance to kind of get some things going back in your direction. Now, the Riders do get a little bit of momentum in the second half. It gets to be, I think, 21-6. About this point, they get a couple of field goals. But Amos, again, ends up getting an interception, this time being a pick 6, as it really extends things out of reach. And just kind of puts a insult to injury for this game. Now, luckily, there was a little bit of things to be happy about here. Sean Payton Jr. went off for 144 yards on 10 receptions and did get a late touchdown in this game in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. Ultimately, though, it was Toronto ends up winning this one 31-13, and the Argonauts are now 6-0 to start the season for the first time since 1935. I don't believe they've ever started 7-0. That'll be something to keep track of next week, and this was a good win for them. Andrew Harris moves 5th all-time into rushing yards in CFL history. Offense wasn't crazy. There wasn't a big Chad Kelly game, but they ended up getting a punt return touchdown and a pick 6. and all around, Saskatchewan was not able to do a whole lot offensively, and when they did, some things ended up not going their way. Again, that fumble as the Argos pick up a big win here, and the Riders again lose without Trevor Harris. Then we have the third game of the week, as we would see the BC Lions travel to Edmonton to try to get another win. Edmonton looking to pick up their first of the season, and things honestly were pretty close in the early stages of this game, in the early stages of the first half, and just kind of in the first half in general. BC gets a couple of field goals. It is 6-0, and getting closer to halftime, you're starting to wonder a little bit, is this going to be a trap game for the Lions? Luckily for BC, doesn't look like that in the first half. It's Justin McInnes ends up getting a touchdown, and they get a little bit of a cushion. It's 13-0, and then Sean White hits a field goal. It was like 45, 46 yards towards the end of the half. Might have been the final play of the first half, as it is 16-0 BC after 30 minutes of play. And again, when it was 6-0, you started to feel like, oh, maybe there's a chance. 16-0, you feel like maybe it is a little bit out of reach for the home side. Then I think it's in the third quarter, Taquan Mizell for the Lions ends up getting a touchdown. Might have been on a wheel route, but it was a good route and a good ball by Dane, and they end up going up 23-0. Edmonton goes for a field goal. They end up missing that field goal. Unfortunate for them. Taylor Cornelius throws a pick or two in the second half. Not a whole lot to talk about here in this one, as the Lions end up winning 27-0. Shut out the Elks. Obviously, Edmonton had not been shut out in decades until this season. Now they have been shut out twice in their first 8 games of the year, both against BC, and now hold the longest losing streak in North American sports at home at 21 games. They have a 12-game losing streak going back into last season, have not won a game again this season, and for them, it is unfortunate. That ends up meaning that we're going to see offensive coordinating changes. We'll talk about that in my preview for Week 9, but of course, for the Elks, not a great look. For BC, a really good look, as with Dane Evans are able to pick up a good win, and Vernon Adams Jr. gets some more time to recover. Then the final game of the week was Calgary traveling to Montreal to play the Alouettes. Calgary has not had a lot of luck in Montreal as of late. They're like 1-5 their past 6 games going into this one. Luckily for them, though, Montreal was riding a 3-game losing streak, and the Stampeders, hoping to kind of catch them where they're a little bit with their feet slipping. But in the first quarter, we saw both sides score via field goal, something that would be kind of the talk of this game, and we also got to see Montreal go up 7-3. William Stanback looked really good after the first quarter, and also something that looked even better for the Owls was when Jake Maier threw a pick 6. Don't exactly know what the throw was going on there. I think it was a little bit too far inside. I think it might have been an out route if I remember correctly. Anyway, it is a pick 6 as the Alouettes go up 13-3. The two sides do trade field goals a little bit, and it is Rene Paredes who helps Calgary get a little bit of momentum rolling back in their favor with a 53-yard field goal near the end of the first half, as it is 16-9 Montreal, but it could have been 16-6. Again, Paredes looking really good after a kind of shaky start. Either it was the first game or the first 2 games of the season. Then in the second half, I'm just going to be honest with you, we saw a lot of field goals as both sides, I think, tried to go for some deep shots that didn't connect, and if they did connect, they weren't able to finish off those drives and come away with offensive touchdowns. The final phase of the game, though, I really feel like was what decided it here in the final 2.5 minutes, as Calgary looked to score off a drive that ends up getting picked off, so that's points that they were not able to get there. Luckily for them, especially with how fast you have to play in the CFL where no lead is safe, Montreal has to punt the ball away. Calgary gets the ball back again, and with an opportunity, it's just not meant to be, as on 3rd and 3, they see an incomplete pass end the game, as the Alouettes do regain possession and they end up taking a knee, but that was effectively the end of it here, as the Stampeders fall to 2-5 on the season, and Montreal wins a game for the first time since 2014 without an offensive touchdown. Wasn't pretty, and again, I do think for the Alouettes, they have to clean some things up, but to get off that 3-game losing streak to get back to 500 was really good for them. As for Calgary, the struggle in Quebec seems to continue. I don't exactly know why that is. I know that they haven't played a lot of games in recent memory in Montreal, so maybe it was going back to when the Owls were still good, but in general, falling to 2-5 is not great. Good news is for them, they still got a long way to go in the season, but that is all for Week 8 in the CFL. What are your thoughts from this week? What was good? What was bad? What was ugly? All that stuff. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe and have a great night.